Hey, love. Welcome to the Growth Blueprint. I'm Shay, your intentional growth guide. And if you're here, it means you're ready to build your creator life with more peace, purpose, and a whole lot less pressure. Around here, we don't chase hustle. We build habits. We don't copy trends. We craft alignment. And we don't talk at each other. We walk with each other. Every episode will break down one layer of your growth, from mindset and systems to storytelling and sustainable strategy, all through the lens of authentic, mindful marketing. Because real growth is not just about doing more, it's about becoming more you. So grab your coffee, your notes app, or that messy journal that's seen it all, and let's build your growth blueprint together, right here, right now, with intention. Now let's get into this week's episode. Welcome back, love. It feels so good to have you here again. Right back where we left off. Same couch, same blanket, same breath, same moment of truth. If part one was us unclenching the things we never actually had the language for, then part two is where we take that soft unraveling and shape it into direction. But before we move forward, let's ground ourselves for just a second. Because part one wasn't light. It wasn't surface. It wasn't a tips and tricks kind of episode. It wasn't a here's how to go viral moment. It was the deeply human, deeply lived experience of being a creator in transition, being a person in transition, being a soul in transition. And that matters. Because strategy that doesn't acknowledge the humanity behind it, strategy that pretends creators are machines, strategy that expects you to show up like you're not carrying a whole life on your back, that's not strategy. That's pressure. And we don't do pressure over here. But what we do is clarity, intention, pace, alignment, and becoming. So let's take a moment. The way documentary films take a breath before shifting scenes and acknowledge where you are right now. In part one, we sat with your honesty. We sat with your exhaustion. We sat with the feeling of performing for an audience that no longer serves you or feels like yours. We sat with the season where everything that used to fit suddenly didn't. You named the ache most creators avoid admitting. You didn't fall out of love with creation. You fell out of love with the pressure, the pretending, the chasing. You fell out of love with the version of yourself you had to shrink just to keep up. And that honesty, that quiet, shaky, breathy honesty, that was clarity. Pure clarity. Not the kind you just figure out, but the kind that arrives when your spirit taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, I think it's that time to grow again, don't you? It was the moment you admitted, I don't want to perform. I want to create. I don't want to chase. I want to build. I don't want noise. I want direction. And that honesty, that moment of truth, is everything. Because clarity is not the end of confusion. Clarity is the beginning of direction. And that's what we're getting into now. Here's something creators never get told. And honestly, I wish someone had told me sooner. Strategy doesn't start when you pick a niche. It doesn't start when you pick your pillars. It doesn't start when you choose your platforms or plan your content. Strategy begins the moment clarity settles in your body and in your mind. Strategy begins the moment you exhale and say, Okay, I know who I am now. So how do I build from here? Picture this moment as a doorway. On one side is clarity. The internal grounding, the identity, the purpose, the voice. On the other side is strategy, the direction, the structure, the plan, the movement. But the thing nobody teaches you is this. You can't walk through the strategy door until you've actually stood in the clarity room long enough to let yourself breathe. Creators rush this part. Coaches rush this part. Algorithms rush this part. The world rushes this part. But clarity needs time. It needs stillness. It needs the quiet. Because clarity isn't just, who am I? Clarity is also, what parts of me am I done pretending I don't feel? What parts of my story am I ready to own? What parts of my creativity do I want to protect? What parts of my energy deserve boundaries? What parts of my voice need space to expand? Strategy becomes sustainable when it grows out of these answers, not out of fear, urgency, or desperation. That's why so many creators feel overwhelmed by strategy. They're trying to build from the wrong floor. They're trying to build strategy on confusion, strategy on exhaustion, strategy on comparison, strategy on survival mode. And strategies built from survival crack under pressure. But strategies built from clarity, now those are the kind that last. Now let me tell you something that might shift the entire way you think about being a creator. Clarity doesn't make strategy louder. Clarity makes strategy calmer. Clarity doesn't make strategy bigger. Clarity makes strategy cleaner. Clarity doesn't make strategy more complicated. Clarity makes strategy obvious. Because clarity removes options that were never yours to begin with. So let me say that again. Clarity removes options that were never yours. The content that doesn't feel aligned, gone. The posting expectations that don't fit your life, gone. The niches that don't make sense for your voice, gone. The pressure to perform as someone you no longer are, gone. Clarity trims the noise until strategy becomes a whisper. A whisper that says, here, this is direction. This one feels like you. And when strategy feels like you, it stops feeling like strategy. It starts feeling like movement, like creation, like expression, like, oh, I can breathe here. Finally, clarity doesn't simplify strategy. Clarity makes strategy humane. It makes it gentle. It makes it personal. It makes it sustainable. Because clarity is your strategy's nervous system regulator. Clarity says, you don't have to run. You don't have to chase. You don't have to keep up with people who aren't even walking the same road as you. Just follow your voice. Just follow your intention. Just follow your rhythm. Just follow your truth. And the moment that clicks, you stop feeling behind because suddenly the path in front of you isn't someone else's. It's yours. Now here's the part we've been preparing for. In this section, we build the soft bridge. This is the exact moment where clarity hands the baton to strategy. This is where we shift from what do I feel to what does this mean? From who am I becoming to how do I create from that? From I'm tired of performing to I'm ready to shape something real. And we're going to take our time walking across that bridge because moving too fast here is the number one reason creators burn out, quit, or spiral back into identity crisis. So let me guide you through this part like we're walking side by side because I am on this journey with you. Now, the clarity to strategy bridge has 3 realizations. 1, your voice is your blueprint, not trends, not templates, not aesthetics, not what's working, not what they told you you have to be. Your strategy becomes sustainable when it starts with your voice, not the market. 2, your pace is your power. Strategy that ignores your life will always feel like punishment. If your strategy doesn't fit your energy, your schedule, your capacity, it's not strategy. It's a trap. Strategy built from your realistic pace, now that's a system. That's longevity. 3, your message is your magnet. People don't follow you because of your editing or your hashtags. They follow you because of how you make them feel, because of how you speak, because of what you see in them, because of the clarity behind your words. When you understand your message, strategy becomes a simple question. How do I deliver this message consistently in a way that feels like me? And how do I deliver it this way every single time? Strategy begins when clarity creates enough stillness for you to hear your own direction. Not the direction you're supposed to take, not the direction someone sold you, not the direction that looks good on paper, not the direction that promises fast results. Strategy begins when the direction makes sense for your actual life. Strategy begins when the direction feels aligned with your identity. Strategy begins when the direction honors your nervous system. Strategy begins when the direction respects your capacity. Strategy begins when the direction reflects your message. Like, tell me if you're hearing me right now. In this section, I want you to feel this in your chest, okay? And understand that you are not behind, you are paused. And pausing is the only way clarity has room to arrive. Pausing is not failure because clarity is what allows strategy to feel like a path instead of a prison. Now that we're grounded, truly grounded, we're ready to walk into the next phase of this episode. Your actual creator strategy. The one that's built from clarity. The one that honors your becoming. The one that respects your pace. The one that grows with you, not against you. In the next section, we're going to get into your content architecture, the clarity, shape, and sustain system by yours truly, message mapping, your content pillars, your voice patterns, your sustainable pace, your energy management, what mindful strategy actually looks like on a good old Tuesday morning, and how to build a creator life that doesn't burn you out. This is the part where strategy becomes honest, where strategy becomes human, where strategy becomes yours. All right, love, let's get into the strategy blueprint. Welcome to section 2, the moment in our story where we leave the emotional unraveling behind and step into the architecture of your strategy. But before we go straight into steps and structure, I want you to imagine something with me. Picture yourself standing in a dim lit hallway. Behind you is everything you've already unpacked. The fatigue, the confusion, the identity shift, the clarity that's been forming like sunlight edging across a dark room. And in front of you, there's a door. A big red one. Wooden, heavy, a little intimidating, but beautiful in that this could change everything kind of way. That door, that big red door, leads to your strategy. Not the strategy you've been pressured to adopt, not the strategy that drained you, not the strategy that belonged to someone else's lifestyle. Your strategy, aligned, intentional, human, sustainable. And today, right now, we're opening that big red door. So come take a walk with me inside of it, of course. Now, here's the story creators are never told. You don't need more content. You need more clarity. You don't need more platforms. You need more intention. You don't need more energy. You need a strategy that honors the energy you actually have. Strategy at its core is not about effort. Strategy is about alignment. You've been told strategy is posting 3 to 5 times a day, batch a month of content, hop on trends, be everywhere, say it louder, try harder, do more, be here, be there. But here's the truth nobody whispered to you. A strategy that exhausts you isn't a strategy. It's the countdown to burnout. Because creators don't quit because they don't love creating. Creators quit because they were told to create in a way that was incompatible with their humanity. And this is why this section matters. Because now that you have clarity, and I do mean true clarity, you're no longer building strategy from panic or pressure. You're building it from peace. You're building it from your voice, your identity, your message, your becoming. So let's walk through this together, not as a coach lecturing a student, but as two content creators sitting in a cozy, dimly lit living room, having a conversation with our blueprint papers scattered across the coffee table, and both of us saying, let's design something that finally feels like home. Clarity is the root system. You cannot skip it. You cannot rush it. You cannot bypass it because you're eager to hurry up and get results. Clarity is the foundation beneath everything. And I need you to understand that. Here's what creators get wrong. They try to build strategy without first defining who they're building it for. And that who is not the audience. It's you. Clarity is not figuring out what will perform. Clarity is figuring out what feels true, what feels natural, what feels like my voice, what feels like I could do it for years without burning out, what feels like contribution instead of obligation. Clarity in your system has 4 anchor points. 1, your message. This is the heartbeat of your strategy, the thing you want people to remember you for. Your message is not one line. It's a perspective, a belief, a promise, a transformation you guide people into. If your message feels foggy, your strategy will always feel heavy. 2, your voice. You are not interchangeable with other creators, so why use their tone? Your voice is specific to you. Your voice is emotional temperature, pacing, rhythm, metaphor, mood, point of view. Your voice is your fingerprint. When creators skip voice work, their content blends into the noise. When creators own their voice, their content becomes magnetic. It's like magic. 3, your identity. This is the part creators avoid because it requires honesty work. Who are you when you show up online? Not your brand, but your actual identity. Are you the guide, the sister friend, the teacher, the narrator, the motivator, the storyteller, the quiet thinker, the comedic relief? Identity shapes strategy more than any other factor because strategy is not about what works on the internet. It's about what works for you, your personality, your nervous system, your emotional flow. 4, your boundaries. Your strategy should keep you safe, not stretched thin. Boundaries explain what you say no to, what you will no longer perform, what you refuse to chase, what energy you won't create from, what platforms drain you, what kind of content overstimulates your system, what you will protect at all costs. Boundaries are your strategy's bodyguard. They hold your clarity in place. Clarity is not fluffy. It is not optional. It is architecture. You're building a strategy that honors who you are, not one that demands you become someone else. Now let's move into the part everyone tries to jump headfirst into. Phase 2, shape. This is where things get fun. Shape is where clarity becomes creation, where all the internal work becomes external expression, where identity becomes strategy. This is where your content system takes form. But before we build anything, I want you to hear this. You cannot shape a strategy that contradicts your clarity. I'm going to say that one more time. You cannot shape a strategy that contradicts your clarity. They do not work. They cannot coexist together. If clarity says, I thrive with depth, but post strategy says post 25 times a week, you're going to crumble. If clarity says, my voice is slow, warm, reflective, but strategy says, hop on every fast-paced trend, you will instantly disconnect. If clarity says, I deliver value through storytelling, but strategy says, listicles and hacks only, you'll begin to resent your work. So shape must flow from clarity, not override it. Let's break down the shape phase the way a documentary would, softly, narratively, with intention. Now, here's what we build in the shape phase. 1, your content pillars, the real kind. Not educate, inspire, and entertain. Not generic buckets, okay? We get real and we get deep over here. Your pillars are the lived expressions of your message, the ways your clarity shows up in content form. For example, if your message is, creators deserve strategy that doesn't burn them out, your pillars, your real pillars, might be mindful content strategy, creator identity, pace and energy, storytelling, becoming, sustainable systems, right? Your pillars should feel like categories your soul naturally wants to speak into, and you can naturally tap into. If it feels forced, it's not a pillar, it's a performance. 2, your story arcs. This is where your content becomes recognizable. Your story arcs are the metaphors you return to, the lived experiences you pull from, the themes that repeat in your content, the language patterns that feel like home. This is why people follow you, not because of what you post, but because of how you tell the story. 3, your platform roles. This is a game changer. Every platform has a job. If you use every platform the same way, you will instantly burn out. Trust me. I know. So you must define, where does your long form voice live? Where does your short form creativity shine? Where does your nurturing energy show up? Where does your evergreen content sit? Where does your community deepen? Your platforms are tools, not obligations, and you decide their purpose, not the algorithm. 4, your voice patterns. This is where your brand voice becomes consistent without forcing consistency. When your voice has patterns, pacing, tone, phrasing, emotional temperature, you don't need to try to sound like you. You just do, because your content carries your imprint. This is what makes you unforgettable. 5, your visual and creative identity, not aesthetic identity. Colors that match your vibe, typography that matches your energy, visual motifs or motifs, however you say it, that support your message. branding that reflects your clarity. This is where your content begins to feel like you visually. The shape phase is where your brand is born without you trying to brand. And yes, I did that in air quotes. You're simply making your clarity visible. And now we're in phase 3, sustain. This is the phase that determines whether your strategy lasts longer than 3 weeks. This is the phase that makes you a mature creator instead of a frantic one. This is the phase the industry completely ignores because it's not sexy or viral. But sustain is where your longevity is built. Sustain includes 1. Your pace. Your pace is sacred. You're allowed to create at the speed your life requires. Let me say that again. Please make sure you're listening. You're allowed to create at the speed your life requires. You're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to shift gears. You're allowed to rest. Rest is part of the strategy. Okay? Consistency is not about frequency. It's about reliability. You don't need to post every day. You need to post in a way that you can repeat without resentment. 2, your energy cycles. You are a human being with seasons. Creators who ignore their energy suffer. Creators who honor their energy thrive. Your energy is data. Pay attention to when you feel creative, when you feel tired, when you feel inspired, when you need to rest, when you're overstimulated, and when you're lit up. Your schedule should work with your energy, not against it. 3, your systems. Systems do not replace creativity. Systems protect creativity. This includes templates, pillars, checklists, rhythms, publishing processes, Notion dashboards, content banks, draft folders, slow batching, organization that reduces overwhelm. Systems are not robotic. Systems are supportive. They're the reason you can create peacefully. 4, your creative boundaries. Yes, you need boundaries as a creator because creators burn out for the fact that they don't have clear boundaries, not because they don't have enough time. You just don't have enough boundaries. Your sustain phase must include time limits, digital detox days, no content creation windows, emotional boundaries with the algorithm. We need those. Pace limits for posting and creative off seasons. These boundaries protect your joy. 5, your measurement style. This is where creators destroy their own momentum. They measure success in numbers for likes, views, shares, follower count. However, real measurement is this. Did this feel aligned? Did this express my message? Did this fit my energy? Did this connect? Did I stay in my voice? Did I stay in my pace? Did I stay true to myself? Success in mindful strategy is measured in alignment, not analytics. Analytics are just information, but alignment is impact. Now let's stitch this together in a way no marketing coach ever did for you. Your strategy, yours, looks like this. 1, clarity. Who you are, what you say, how you say it, what you protect, why you create. 2, shape. How your identity becomes content, how your message becomes pillars, how your voice becomes a system, how your purpose becomes a presence, how your brand becomes recognizable. 3, sustain, how you create peacefully, how you maintain energy, how you protect your voice, how you grow without burning out, how you build something you can actually keep. This is not hustle culture. This is not bro marketing. This is not productivity first creation. This is mindful, human-centered, clarity-led, sustainable strategy. This is your strategy. And in the next section, we're going to take this framework and walk through real examples, real application, real systems, and the actual day-to-day flow of being a mindful creator. Let's get into it. All right, love. Now that we've unpacked clarity and built out the structure of strategy, let's talk about what this actually looks like in your day-to-day creator life. Because a lot of creators understand strategy in theory, but they freeze up when it comes to applying it to real life. So this section is where I show you step by step how to actually live inside the strategy we just built. Not in a perfect world, not in a high energy week, but in your real life version of the creator journey. So let's break this into 3 easy parts. 1, the mindset shift. 2, the daily practice. And 3, the real life example days. This will feel like a walk with me kind of moment. Not overwhelming, not confusing, not even wishy-washy. Just simple, strategic, grounded guidance. Let's begin with the mindset shift. So, the mindset shift is that strategy isn't a plan. It's a rhythm. And the biggest mistake creators make is thinking that strategy is something that you just complete like a task. But the thing is, strategy isn't a task. It's not a binder. It's not a checklist. It's not a rigid system. Strategy is a rhythm, a breathing, living rhythm you move inside of. Not something you force yourself to keep up with. That's not really living, is it? So here's the mindset shift I want you to hold on to. 1, clarity tells you who you are. 2, shape shows you how your identity becomes content. And 3, sustain tells you when and how often to create. If you hold this rhythm in your head, everything becomes easier. This is the lens you will use every day by asking yourself these questions. Who am I today? What message is alive in me? What's the best way to express it? What's my capacity? And what's the simplest action I can take? So, let us actually put this into a daily practice, like a 10-minute creator check-in. So, here's your framework broken down into 6 parts, okay? This should literally take you 10 minutes or so, depending on how deep you go. So, question 1, what's my energy today? Is it high? Is it medium? Is it low? I want you to name that without guilt and go with your first initial response. Question 2, what message is sitting on my heart? Pick one. Pick one message to run with for the day. Question 3, what pillar does it belong to? Question 4, what platform fits this message today? Let the message lead the platform. You don't have to post everywhere when you have a message or when you feel like you have something to say. Post it where it fits. 5, what's my capacity today? This decides the format. And 6, what's the smallest action I can take today? Not the biggest, not the most perfect, but the smallest aligned action that fits with how you're feeling today. Now, that is the framework I want you to follow through with today or with your day-to-day life. Now, let us apply this to real life and see some examples, okay? Through 3 versions: the high level creator, the medium level creator, and a low level creator. Okay, we'll see what that looks like. Let's dive in. So, here is your day 1 example of someone who has high energy, clarity, and ideas. So, your energy level is high. Your message for the day is creators deserve strategy that doesn't drain them. Your pillar is mindful strategy, and your capacity is high. So the platform that you choose will be YouTube, podcast, and Threads. Now, this is how you apply it. You're going to record one long form video. You're going to turn a clip from it into a short. You're going to write a thread about one insight from that video. You're going to save 3 ideas for later. And then you're going to stop when your creativity peaks. And that is for a high energy day. Now, example day 2 is medium level. This is where I'm functional, but not inspired. Your energy level is medium. Your message is honor your pace. So your pillar for that day is going to be pace and energy. Your capacity is medium. So the platform you're going to choose is Instagram and TikTok. And this is how you apply this to real life. You're going to scroll drafts for something that's half finished, add a voiceover or caption, post one simple piece, reshare it, revisit your ideas, and stop when you feel done. Okay? Honor that. Honor your pace for that day, especially if you're tired, you don't feel too functional or inspired. And example day 3, this is your low level, okay? This is where you're actually tired, you feel heavy, or you feel overly stimulated. Your energy level is low. Your message is to protect your creativity. Your pillar, creator seasons. Your capacity is low. And your platform is Threads or absolutely nothing at all. And that's okay. And this is how you apply it in real life. You're going to write one honest sentence, or post nothing, or jot down your feelings, drink water, rest, and remind yourself that rest is the strategy. Okay? It is the strategy, and you must be okay with that. Whew. We've finally made it to the home stretch of episode 9. Crazy how we had to separate this into 2 parts, right? We had to go from understanding clarity over chaos is everything. And now, here we are looking at the strategy of life and how to incorporate our strategy into what life actually is for us and not by anybody else's ideals, ideas, beliefs, algorithms, nothing. But a strategy that truly is designed and works for us. In episode 9, part 1, we unraveled everything. It was the moment you stopped pretending that the way you were creating still worked for you. You named your fatigue, your confusion, your shifting identity. You named the part of yourself that was tired of performing and ready to create with intention again. Through episode 9, part 1, you realized that you didn't fall out of love with content. You fell out of love with pressure. You didn't lose your creativity. I need you to hear me when I say this. You lost the space to hear it. Again, you didn't lose your creativity. It's always been with you, but you just lost the space to hear it. You weren't inconsistent. You were overwhelmed. And you weren't doing it wrong. You were just doing it without clarity. And part 1 gave you permission to sit down, breathe, and return to yourself without the guilt. And that clarity, that's where everything began. And in part 2, meaning what we did today, we shifted from that clarity to structure. In section 1, it gave you the bridge. It is showing you how clarity becomes direction and why strategy doesn't work until you're honest about who you are. Now, section 2, it gave you the architecture, your full clarity, shape, and sustain method. Clarity defines who you are, shape defines how your identity becomes content, and sustain defines when and how often you create in a way that honors your energy. We didn't build strategy from fear, from hustle culture, or from performance. We built it from you, your voice, pace, season, and your humanity. And that alone shifts everything. And then we went practical. Now, section 3 is where you actually learned how to live your strategy in real life. No overwhelm, no posting 3 to 5 times a day, no endless planning, just real human examples. High energy creation, medium energy maintenance, and low energy protection. You learned the 10-minute creator check-in, which is your daily grounding routine that keeps you aligned by asking your 6 questions. What's my energy? What message is alive in me? What pillar does it belong to? Which platform fits it correctly? And not everywhere, okay? What's my capacity? What's the smallest aligned action I could take? This is your new rhythm. You know exactly how to step into each day without pressure and without confusion. This is strategy that breathes with you, not against you. And now, here's where everything ties together. This episode wasn't just about giving you clarity. It wasn't just about strategy. It wasn't just about finding your pace again. This episode was preparing you for what's coming next. Because the journey you just walked, the clarity, the structure, the rhythm, the breath, the self-awareness, that is the same journey we're about to walk together in a whole new way. A way that's not just about being a creator. A way that's about building a mindful brand. A way that's about strategy rooted in identity, not exhaustion. A way that respects your humanity and your ambition. You're stepping into a new era with me. One where we don't just talk about content, we talk about your brand, your message, your identity, your systems, your pace, your direction, and your growth. Slow, steady, aligned, sustainable, rooted, and intentional. This is where we begin building your brand with clarity and compassion, not pressure. Now, let's jump into what's coming next and what you can expect as we transition into the mindful brand strategy era. Why? Because your girl is stepping into her new role as a mindful brand strategist, which means there's going to be a little bit of a new structure for this podcast. We're moving just from creator conversations, and we're going to move into something a little deeper, something a little bit more intentional with our framework. And we're going to base it off this new structure. 1, clarity sessions, where we identify your identity, your voice, your message, your direction. 2, strategy sessions, where we identify pillars, your brand structure, your messaging, platform roles, and content systems. 3, sustainability sessions, where we talk about your nervous system, your pace, your energy management, your boundaries, and your longevity. 4, brand building sessions, where we go over mindful branding, creator to brand transition, building offers, showing up with intention, and of course, the Growth Blueprint Foundation. Everything from here on out will follow this flow. It will be cleaner, deeper, slower, more intentional. And it'll be built for the creator who is tired of performing and ready to build something real, Something real, something that lasts, something that excites you, something that ignites your fire to create and to do it in a way that actually works for you, your capacity, your energy, your lifestyle. And it's all you, and not based off of the structure of a guru, of an algorithm, of these social media rules that just literally suck the life out of us, but based on you, your love, your passions, in wanting to be a creator. So here's your invitation. Stay with me as we walk into this next evolution of your creator life. Not as someone trying to keep up, but as someone learning to build clearly, calmly, and strategically. In this next episode and forward, we'll be building your brand, shaping your voice, defining your message, structuring your presence, crafting your blueprint, stabilizing your energy, and walking slowly but intentionally into your next chapter. You're not starting over. You're starting aligned. All right, my dear. That's episode 9. Wrapped, grounded, and guiding you into what's next. I'll meet you in the next episode.